Welcome. You are about to take a journey to a place of the divine love within with Deborah Beauvais on the Love by Intuition show. For the next hour, allow her to prepare you in becoming a magnet for a profound love-infused relationship by identifying and focusing on solutions through love. Awaken the light within and let your essence shine. And now, here's Deborah Beauvais on Love by Intuition, all part of the Dream Vision 7 radio network.
Welcome, everyone. Bonjour, mes amis. And yes, here I am, Deborah Beauvais, founder and owner of the Dream Vision 7 radio network, the Kids for Love Project radio, and the project as well. And if you're tuning in for the first time and not familiar with us, we are a Boston-based full producing internet radio station with all the bells and whistles. You can listen to us through Alexa. You can listen in your car. You can listen online, all kinds of ways. And you can listen globally. It doesn't matter if you're in Switzerland or France. You can just tune in and listen live. And this is a live show, and Bob is in the house. And our number here is 833-220-1200. Again, 833-220-1200. And I have an amazing guest. She was actually on Teresa Villati's show, which is on Tuesdays, 5 a.m. and 5 p.m., and I was so taken with her that I was like, I just have to have her on the Love by Intuition show. Well, it's from an Emmy with Aretha Franklin to a master executive coach. I am with Rene Kamstra, and she is going to share with us all the things that she has accomplished, what she does today. She's in radio. She also is an author, a publisher, a keynote speaker. She's everything you would want her to be. Anyway, without further ado, Rene, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Deborah. Wow, that was so kind. I love what you just said, so I think the show is done.
Oh, that's good. Thank you. I needed that laugh. So with you doing and accomplishing so much, because you've been on CBS to CNN, all these things that you have done, when you look back, you must be like, oh my gosh, is that my life? And yet, as we go along in life and we become more in tune with the truth of who we are, you know that in one lifetime, there's so many chapters, and it's almost like a lifetime within a lifetime. Do you agree with that, or how do you feel about it?
Oh, absolutely. And you know what is so interesting, Deborah, is the older I get, the more I realize how much I really don't know.
Yes, I would agree with that.
Right? And so I just love to learn more. However, I've become very clear what my mission is. And my mission is to absolutely make a difference no matter what I do. And like I've told you before, if I don't find something where I will absolutely 100% make a difference, I will just not do it anymore. So that's pretty much my biggest clarity in life.
I agree with that, because I truly believe that we came on the earth with a purpose, and it's finding what rings our bell, what makes our heart sing. It's all of that, and once we find it and we implement a plan, that's really what we're giving to the world, and that's the stamp that we leave once we leave the earth. I mean, I think it's so important to make a difference. So when people think of your name, even decades later, they think, well, gee, she did that, she introduced this, whatever it may be, or it won't even be about that. It'll be how she made you feel. And that is really one of the key points, I think, that we're here to feel emotions, to feel the things that we experience, whether they're lighter or heavier. It's a complex journey for sure. And as you have said, I
love what you were just saying, right? Because I think so many people, don't think about the fact that it's all about how we feel. People think that emotions, yes, if we take emotions out of context, that's something different. However, when we live our lives in a way where we feel amazing about what we do and we really go according to that, that's when you really live your mission. So I just wanted to say I love what you were just saying because it is so true. And no wonder it's called love by design, right?
Yes. So tell us a little bit about your journey. Did you know in advance when you were a little girl that all these things were going to unfold?
No. In fact, well, it's very interesting. I was a very, very little girl when I realized, I do believe I realized that I would always make a difference. Mm-hmm. Because it was since I was very young, and at that time, I always wanted to make sure that people knew, at that time it was God, and that people knew that there was a higher power or a God out there. And I was probably 6, and my mom did not like that very much. So she would sometimes say, you always walk with like the Bible under your arm. But to me, that was really important. And so maybe unbeknownst, I am not, now preaching religion or anything like that. But I do think that unbeknownst to me, that was literally the path that I'm taking, is always trying to make a bigger difference in everything. And I truly believe that there's something bigger than ourselves out there. So that's where intuition would come in. So, yeah, I do think that there was a little bit of that. And then when I really wanted to choose my career, I knew that I needed to do something with singing because obviously singing was my big thing as a young child. And I've had the good fortune to sing in 10 countries while I was still in school, so that was a big thing, traveling to Europe and so on and so forth. And
how long ago what was that? Were you in your 20s? What were you at that particular?
I was in school. I was in middle school when I started singing.
Oh, wow.
And I became the soloist. So talking about intuition, may I tell you how this all fell into place?
Please.
Okay. So I was 13 and a half years old. And there was a very famous choir. At that time, we lived in South Africa. And there was this famous choir, and they had an audition where they would literally get 70 people who would come in. You would practice for 6 to 8 months, and then they would choose between 5 and 10 of those children to get into the full-fledged choir that would travel everywhere. Right? And so I was one of those that tried out, and I was in this choir that were on a 6 to 8 month trial period. Long story short, I have the gift of being able to look at music, and I can read the music, but I have what we call perfect pitch. So I can put it on the right note, and I can just literally sing by looking at the sheet music. And this was about 2 months before this big choir was going to make a world tour. And we were practicing something that had a lot of different voices. And there was what we call a descant, which is a few notes that is very high. And I just wanted to know how that would sound with the choir. And my intuition told me, just do it. That's what I did. That day, I was chosen to to be taken out of that practice choir. They put me in the main choir, and I became the main soloist for the main choir moving forward. So I literally I've been 2 weeks in this practice choir. People did not like me a lot because I did not pay my dues, right? And it was literally that intuitive moment that changed my life forever.
Wow, that is incredible, Rene. And this was when you were in middle school, and you had
middle school.
You had that intuition, that connection from a higher place, I believe, and you knew to take a chance and just do it. That is amazing. That is amazing. So before that, did you know that you had the ability to sing?
I do believe that I knew because I loved music. My father had a music store. Yes, we didn't sing, but really my mom sang beautifully, and it was just, we were a musical family. We always sang at home. I would play piano and we would sing, and Dad would play piano and we would all sing. So, yeah, I think I didn't know that I would go to a solo part, but I knew that I loved singing, and to me it was all about the love of singing.
And through the singing and the choir, you traveled. You had the opportunity to travel everywhere as a young girl, which really fed into who you are as a person, interacting with other peoples, other cultures, things like that. So how did it come about to be singing with Aretha Franklin and as well as Sissy Houston?
Well, another crazy story. So I'm going to tell you all these crazy stories. So I was married and I lost my husband. And when that happened, it was a terrible time in my life. I had 2 young children, and honestly, I didn't know how I could actually move forward. And I was so depressed, Deborah, that I literally was in the place where I had both my kids in the car, and I was in the process of committing suicide. And at that time, a girlfriend of mine had the intuition where she was just like, I've got to go to Rene, I've got to go to Rene. She did. She walked in on us, and she literally saved my life. Now, this is a massive story because when she saved my life, what she was saying is, you have to come and speak to my priest. And I am not Catholic, but that's where everything started. So she brought me to the priest. I actually spoke to him, and he asked me, what do you love to do? And I'm like, I love to sing. And he asked me a few more questions, and I told him that I can just sing from a sheet music and so on. That's my gift. And lo and behold, 2 weeks later, he called me and he said, are you sure that's what you can do? And I'm like, yes. He said, Rene, our main singer just passed away, and I would love for you to come in. We need a singer within 2 hours. And I'm like, I'll be there. That took me to the Vatican, right, because I was able to sing in the Vatican with Pope John Paul in the year 2000. And when I came back, my girlfriend came to get me at the airport and said to me, I need for you to go and sing at this event tonight because I just have goosebumps just thinking about it. I need for you to audition. Obviously, I was like, I have a 6-hour time delay and all of these things. But eventually, I just went, and that's how everything started happening. That's how I got to sing. They hired me on the spot, and I got to sing a solo together with Aretha Franklin, and obviously I did some other music with Sissy Houston there. So, again, it was divine intervention.
And thank goodness for your friend to come at that time. I know that I've been in that space as well. So I know what you were going through, or I should not say that. I have an idea of what you were going through at that time. So with the singing, and I've got goosebumps listening to your journey, your story. So after that time, which was, you had said around 2000, you've had a total different direction. But I have to ask first, do you still sing? Do you have an opportunity to sing? When you were on TV, national TV, is it about the master executive coaching and speaking that you were on, and how to bring those companies, corporations, and that, so they're empowering their people and growing their companies, or was it more about the singing?
Great question. Oh my gosh, you're so good at interviewing, I have to tell you.
Thank you.
In all honesty, it was for both. So when I was younger, it was for the singing. And what I would do sometimes is when I would speak in certain countries or something, I would sometimes add a song to it as well, or, sing at some dinners or something for the guests and so on and so forth. So, yes, I've been on television for both. So sometimes television would invite me for certain projects, right, when they talk about leadership, or when there's a specific topic that I would be good at. They would ask me because I'm good at bringing short sound bites. And being able to think on my feet. And I think that's what got me invited quite a bit. But you were asking about, the transition to my career, which is, the executive coach and business consultant. So what happened is I had few things that I knew I wanted to do in life. And as you know, travel is one of them, right? And so after I traveled with the singing as a child, I just knew this is how I wanted my life to look. And when my kids were bigger, I had the opportunity to start doing that. So I've been a coach for a long time because I've studied psychology, and I've also studied, obviously, music and business. And so bringing that all together, I became an executive coach, which I was told as a young person I would never be able to do because that was a man's job. So, I many times would work with clients, and then, when I would work with them and I would get great results, I always had those words in my head. And then I could hardly believe that I was good enough, right? And so that's where imposter syndrome came in for me, because, I was told that this is not a woman's job. And, I always had great ambitions. And as a woman, what I noticed is that many women, and other people too, but especially women who are really good at what they do, can just not see that. Because it's like they miss that part of how much of a difference they made, and really go back to all these old things and start having imposter syndrome and worried that they might be found out and so on. So I've gone through all of that as well until I became, I would say, almost of age, or where I really worked through things a lot. And now know, when I work with a company and they literally will save millions of dollars, or they will gain millions of dollars, I don't have to have imposter syndrome. There is something that I know that makes it work.
Yes. Well, you have a gift, and that is what your gift, one of your gifts, in this lifetime that you're doing is exactly that. And as you know, with society, they've really done a good job of keeping women down. And a lot of women, I think, carry that guilt, shame, and they could be perfect. They could have a perfect childhood, but yet we take on, it's the human taking on different situations that all wrap up into being unworthy or not good enough, all of that, which I've always, the listeners have heard me say, I think 98% of the population struggle with that and I think that's the way we're created, in a sense where we need to, we make a choice to work on that in this lifetime, or we don't. And if we work on it and then find our inner power, then we excel and we do better. And we don't have to do that imposter syndrome that you speak of. And when you say that, are you speaking that someone is not bringing their full truth to who they are while they're accomplishing these things?
You know what is so interesting? When most people that have imposter syndrome, as I said, are really high achievers. And they actually do a fantastic job, but it's just never good enough for them. Or they just don't see what they've done really well. Mm-hmm. And so that's when they will think, well, maybe I'll be found out. But it's really not because they are not doing a good job. They are probably better than most people at what they do. They just don't notice it, even if others would tell them. You've done a fantastic job. Or look, I just made $2 million extra because of you. Mm-hmm. They would just not see it because they will be already like, oh my gosh, but I'm working. So I'll tell you how sometimes the imposter syndrome would come across to me, right? I would work with a company like Apple, for instance. Right? Now you're talking about one of the top companies in the world. And so I would wonder by myself, well, why would they want to hire me? I would never come to those billions, right? But that's not what they were looking for. They were looking for the part where I could truly influence and help their management team to go to the next level, where if they would be willing to go there and really go with all the changes, that's when Apple could bring out their next product that would be massively successful, right? Mm-hmm. And it's helping them through that change period and with the communication. However, I couldn't see that. I could only see, oh my gosh, this is such a big company. Why would they want to hire me? But I did the job, and I did a good job. I was just not aware that I really did a good job.
Good. Yeah, I understand now, and thank you for explaining that. So we have to take our first break. Everyone, I know you're on the edge of your seat to hear more about Rene, so stay with us. We'll be back in a moment.
Experience a different yet profound healing with Reconnective Healing. Includes yet expands beyond any and all known forms of energy healing. The Reconnective Healing spectrum is comprised of the full healing and evolutionary continuum of energy, light, and information. It allows for healings that are not just physical, not just mental, not just emotional, yet go beyond that to bring healing that includes the evolution of your very being and essence. Deborah Beauvais, trained and certified by world-renowned Dr. Eric Pearl, offers appointment hours at Seekonk Family Chiropractic in Seekonk, Massachusetts. For questions or to set up both distance or local sessions, call Deborah at 508-431-1959. Again, 508-431-1959. Or go to lovebyintuition.com. That's lovebyintuition.com.
Calling all authors. Have you been considering an audiobook? Well, look no further. Come take advantage of Dream Vision 7 Radio Network's unique in-house audiobook production, which includes benefits and bonuses from our radio station. Let our knowledgeable staff guide you to create the audiobook you've always dreamed of without breaking the bank. Check out our full one-stop service from A to Z, including the ACX process. Schedule a free consultation by calling 508-226-1723. That's 508-226-1723. Or go to dreamvision7radio.com.
After narrowly surviving the attack on Sandy Hook Elementary, first-grade teacher Caitlin Roy DeBellis was left searching for answers that would never come. Eventually, she chose to focus on questions that could be answered. How do I make sure this tragedy doesn't define us? How do we get our control back? Those two questions led her to found the 501c3 nonprofit organization Classes for Classes. When gifts poured into their classroom, she decided they would help someone else by paying it forward and being kind. This developed into a social network which allows K-8 classrooms to connect so that every student in the United States can learn these crucial lessons. Classes for Classes' mission is to build students' social-emotional intelligence by connecting them to care. All C4C projects are crowdfunded. Any teacher in the U.S. can visit classesforclasses.org. That's classes, the number 4, classes.org. Sign up today.
Delight your kids with an enchanting journey by reading the Paper Doll Kids children's book by Deborah Beauvais and Janine Sullivan. There's even a catchy tune, Kids for Love Song, produced by Bob Sherwood and sung by kids just like yours. The story weaves around 7 paper dolls flying around the world doing good deeds as they bring important attention to our endangered animal friends. There's even a magical ring with a universal message. Kids become interested in service projects, action through compassion, and planting seeds that nurture positive change. The Paper Doll Kids and Kids for Love Song are a production of the Kids for Love Project. Get the book now on Amazon Kindle and the song on CD Baby or iTunes.
This is Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, uniting mankind with universal love. Our shows are created from the heart, bringing each listener to a place of divine enlightenment. Breathe, relax, and enjoy. Let life flow.
And we are back, and there's still time for you to call in if you have a question or a thought for Rene or I. The number 833-220-1200. Bob will put you through, and all will be fun. We'll have a little fun. So if you want to get in touch with Rene, go on her site. It's Rene, R-E-N-E, Kamstra, K as in kind, A as in apple, M as in mother, S as in so, T-R-A, ReneKamstra.com. And we are enjoying our time together. We're talking about everything that she has experienced, accomplished. And so, Rene, I wanted to get into that influential communication piece. But before that, I want to ask you, with speaking and teaching at these corporations and even small businesses, what are you finding now that is different than the pandemic years?
Oh, great question, right? Obviously, what has been happening is that communication has really dwindled a lot. What has been happening for people, because they were sitting at home, they are not as much in touch with other people. And so it's almost like people don't necessarily know how to visit anymore.
Yes.
And that's even noticeable in companies. It is noticeable in everywhere because people worked from home. So the way the communication worked is via text message and via emails, which really creates a big challenge. I'm going to give you just an example, right? This is not an example of one of the things that I did, but it is an example that I use many times to describe. So at some point, the company, oh my gosh, I'm trying to think what is their name. Okay, I'll get to their name in a little. It's a computer company. We all know it, Best Buy, right? Best Buy had a system where they would text message their people on tasks that needed to get done. And what they eventually found out is because of text messaging and the fact that things didn't come across very clear, because when you and I read a text message, we read it from the point of view where we are and what we think about and what we've experienced. Mm-hmm. And so what that created was a lot of work was not done correctly immediately. right? And so that would then create animosity between people and all kinds of things. Within a year, they had enough data to realize that this new method of not necessarily speaking to people, but going through the channels of just communicating via text and emails and stuff like that, was losing them about $100,000 a month per store.
Wow.
And so, coming back to your radio program that is all about love, right? Imagine what is happening with love if the only thing that you do is communicate mostly through text messaging.
Right. And we're designed to be touched. We're designed to hug. We're designed to interact, see each other's faces. It's just the norm. And that's a huge wake-up call that a lot of, I think, corporations, families, everyone experience, even the elderly. We've experienced that in our family where they passed because they weren't allowed to have visitors, different things of that sort. Yeah, so it's now, I think, because time has passed, a lot of companies, a lot of people realize that even though we had to for a particular time, it was not good for the human race.
True, and this is the other part which is very interesting, because that comes together with that question that you asked me, is right now many of the corporations want to go back to people coming into work. But because they've been working from home and they were able to do it on their own time, you get a massive resistance to that.
Sure.
And so this is becoming a challenge. So the workforce became smaller because, they just didn't have to go in, and they don't want to go in, and they think that eventually the corporations will give in to them and just have them work from home again. So still the communication is just not effective because our human race doesn't want to go back to work.
Right. How about, there's a number of them doing hybrid, though, where they're doing a balance of going in for a day or two and working from home. Do you, from your expertise, do you see that a better solution?
So it's really hard to say. People see that as a better solution. I still think when you are not around your peers, you don't know what each person is doing. You never know how much your role means and where it is in the scope of everything. Right? So that's where people miss out. They also miss out on camaraderie and really getting to know the team and becoming close. So I believe that that's one of the reasons why people are so often jumping jobs, because there's nothing that holds them anymore. When you and I work, we loved our team and we would love being around them, so you would stay longer. So that's another big issue that is happening in these circumstances.
Well, you make some really good points that one might not think of. But, yes, I can see that. And you mentioned the camaraderie, because when you are working in the office or wherever you do work, you're there most of the time, so they become your second family. And if you're not interacting with them and getting to know, who they really are while you're working, that's a piece that is that can really be detrimental not only to the company, but to ourselves.
You become a number. You really become a number. And the other big challenge, and I'm giving you 3 big challenges really that I'm noticing in the communication field, right, is that when you don't have a team that is really cohesive and they need to now really implement the vision of the company, right? There's not always clarity. because the one hand doesn't necessarily speak to the other hand, or the one department doesn't speak to the other department. And so there's things that overlap, things that are not getting done because nobody is comprehensive on the vision and really where it has to go and what is expected. So, yeah, these are three big things that I'm noticing now more so than before.
Good points. So what are you doing with your expertise to teach the companies that they have to think in a different way? And would they be losing some of their employees because of it? Because now those employees are so in tune with being at home a couple days a week.
They are losing people, right? So that's not even would they be losing. They are losing people, especially the workforce, the worker bees, so to speak, more so than the higher-ups, because the higher-ups still want to be there. And then obviously you have a massive difference in age as well that makes a big difference in the way we communicate and how AI is coming into the world, which is another communication issue as well as something that is becoming really exciting, because if we could just bring everybody together to one piece and allow the wisdom of the oldies, and forgive me for saying it this way, but the wisdom of the oldies and the wisdom of the young'uns, where they know better than any of us who are older how to work with a computer and get in touch with this AI. I mean, if we could just get them all together. So that's really where I am right now, focusing a lot of my attention in companies.
And are they receptive and embracing what you're sharing and what you see needs to be done or implemented?
So that's an interesting question. So you're going to have archaic companies that will not be, or they are receptive, but it's going to take them 2 or 3 years to get there to actually really wanting to implement it, right? And then they might go out of business before that happens. And then you have other companies where that is absolutely embraced, and those are the companies that are right now fast growing, right? And so, I wouldn't want to mention names here, but it's just like when you're going to go for other coaching, some people will be receptive at first. Others, it takes a little bit of time to see what is really happening before they want to be receptive, because they want to have a proven concept. But life is moving on very fast these days. And before you can prove something, it's already a new path, especially with AI.
Exactly.
So you can't stay behind.
Wow.
So I don't want to go into gloom and doom, because I'm telling you there's a lot of companies that are so receptive, and that's where I spend my time. I have learned I would love the audience to do a little exercise, because this is important. If you draw a circle and you actually divide it into 4 pieces, so you draw, almost like 2 lines in the middle. Does that make sense when I'm saying that?
Yes.
Then for each of those quarters, you put 25% in one, 50% in another, 75% in another, and 100% in the other.
Okay.
All right. Now, this is a lesson I have learned, and I'll tell you what we are going to do with that in a second. The bell curve tells us that 50% of people will probably love you. And 50% of people will not necessarily care for you. It's the same with, 50% of people will do really well in a test and then maybe 50% not. However, what we know is one thing is for sure. The 25% of people you will never convince.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, most people spend most time trying to convince the 25% of people that will not agree with them or that will never like them.
Mm-hmm.
The 50 percentile of people, from 25 to 50%, some of them will actually go over to your side. They might actually start to like you and want to work with you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
right.
The others will stay down. And I have learned to really focus on the 75% and the 100%. And the 100% time will be things like your family or your best friends or these people that really, they always cheer you on. They want to be there for you. They love the way you bring things to them. And, You can look in relationships, it's the same thing. We many times take those people for granted. Whereas if those get our most attention, right, we will always be in a good space. And then from the 75 percentile, the 50 to 75%, those are also people that if you work with them, they are more likely going to be on your side. They will want to do what you say. They are open to all of that. So I have learned that in every way, right, that's the way to go. And always focus on the top echelon of the people and those that really want to work with you and really want to make a difference. And if you can get there, boy, life becomes so much better.
Easier too, yes. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. And we need to rush off to our last break. And stay with us, everyone.
Take a journey to a place of the divine love within with Deborah Beauvais on the Love by Intuition Show, Monday through Friday at 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. Eastern. Our message is love in the purest form. The light within us all is a guide to recall our beginning, to learn to love self and humankind, and to feel the higher power of our own divinity. To attract love, one needs to be loved. Come join us and step into this glorious vibration called love.
Delight your kids with an enchanting journey by reading the Paper Doll Kids children's book by Deborah Beauvais and Janine Sullivan. There's even a catchy tune, Kids for Love Song, produced by Bob Sherwood and sung by kids just like yours. The story weaves around 7 paper dolls flying around the world doing good deeds as they bring important attention to our endangered animal friends. There's even a magical ring with a universal message. Kids become interested in service projects, action through compassion, and planting seeds that nurture positive change. The Paper Doll Kids and Kids for Love Song are a production of the Kids for Love Project. Get the book now on Amazon Kindle and the song on CD Baby or iTunes.
Are miracles real? Can you move from mayhem to miracles? 30 prominent authors say yes as they share their high fives and down lows of challenges, abuse, addiction, and love. Experience hope, the magic elixir of miracles, through the personal stories of New York Times bestselling authors James Redfield, Dr. Bernie Siegel, Sister Jenna, Reverend Temple Hayes, and many more. If you like bestsellers, chaos to clarity, and crappy to happy, you'll love crying and laughing through Mayhem to Miracles. Sacred stories of transformational hope. Available now on Amazon and in bookstores worldwide.
It's a child's job to play, to learn, and to have fun. It's an adult's job to keep them safe. Did you know that 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 6 boys will be sexually abused before the age of 18? Every day, families enter the Children's Advocacy Center because a child's courage to tell someone what happened to them. Keeping our children safe starts with a conversation. This is Michelle Aranger, Executive Director of the Children's Advocacy Center. Learn more on how to keep your child safe. Visit cacofbc.org. This message made possible by the Fall River Rotary Club.
This is Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, uniting mankind with universal love. Our shows are created from the heart, bringing each listener to a place of divine enlightenment. Breathe, relax, and enjoy. Let life flow.
And we are back. And to get in touch with Rene, again, it's Rene, R-E-N-E, Kamstra, K as in kind, A as in apple, M as in mother, S as in Sam, T as in Tom, R-A.com, ReneKamstra.com. And I want to, if we could stay on the same realm, and then I want to get into radio, and the time is going by so quickly, but can you talk more about the using your unique personality profile that can actually keep the team more engaged and long-term staying there and staying power? But then right now, as you have shared, people aren't coming in. So how do you work that in to the solution if you don't have the attendance?
Well, when I do get a job with a bigger company, or many times small companies, because I love to work with small companies, what I do have them do is I will request that they actually bring people in, because what I really want to do is I want to speak to the people behind the scenes. They should not know that I'll be coming in. And then I'm going to interview them, because I want to get the real scoop behind the scoop, right? Because honestly, what I know is that most of the bosses out there don't really know. It's the other people that will really share a lot with me. And so once I understand that, and I understand what some of the workers are capable of, or where they are maybe placed in work where they might not even feel happy in what they do, right? That's when I can really work with a company, because frankly, if you don't work in what you are a genius at, and I'm saying that not lightly, I love it when people really truly know what they are so gifted in, because in that moment it doesn't feel like work. And most people don't even know it's a gift, because they think everybody can do it because it's so easy for them. But if you can work in that zone and use your skills, that's when you're going to make a lot more difference for the company. So I come in and I look at things like that so that we make sure the right people is in the right places, right? Or sometimes I will really help them develop some of that, or go out and understand more of who they are, and then things really change. But that's really a simple answer. Obviously, it really depends on where they have a challenge in the company. But you were asking more about personalities and so on and so forth. This is where I start, and then sometimes we will give them a personality test so that we can actually teach them how people think different, how they communicate different, and what you can do in order for to be more influential with other people, right? But that is a whole discussion on itself. If you wanted me to really give you a lot of lessons, we'll probably need another hour for that. But yeah, it is.
Well, we can have you back for sure. Now, what I'm wondering is, do you find, of course, they're paying you a fee, so you'd think that the leadership level would be listening, but do you find that they truly listen and place someone in a different position if that's where they will thrive? Or are the leadership people stuck in their old thinking, their old management skills? You know, because as we know, you have to be open. You have to learn new things and embrace in order for it all to work.
Again, right? Some companies really embrace it, and then we go fast, and people are in their zone and they love it and they don't quit, right? Whereas some of the other companies, really depends on management, because what you need to realize, right, when I work with a big company, it's really the top management that decides. But that doesn't mean that the management that has to implement really wants me there, right? And that's why when I work with smaller companies, we get these implementations done so much faster, and that's where growth really happens, and where they keep their people much longer, right? Imagine you are in a love relationship and you have absolutely no idea how to communicate. I'm going to give you an example, right?
Sure.
So the man and the woman, they are standing opposite each other, and the woman is going, "Oh, I'm so happy you're home, and do you still love me?"
No.
And he looks at her, no expression on his face, and he's like, "Of course I do. If I change my mind, I will let you know."
Yeah.
That would not work, right? Because that would literally squash the person who is fun and loving, right? But a person who is very critical, to them, they will let you know when they change their mind. And they don't want to say it all the time, right? And so how do you get these two to communicate in a way where everybody will be happy and where they can actually really influence? So there's a lot of techniques that I have to use for that, and it works as long as people are receptive, right? And we also have to realize anybody, it doesn't matter who we are, we can learn something, and most of the time, if we are not very present in the moment, we can go back to the old pattern, and when we get back in very present, that's when we can change that pattern. So it's the same thing with a company.
Right.
Who is present? Is the manager present enough and willing enough to do something so that he will hold his team accountable, or is he just going to turn a blind eye and they're just going to go back to the old ways? Either can happen, and I cannot predict that.
True. But they have that information, and they can fall back on that if they decide, because I'm thinking that some companies will probably, well, we'll just do this, or we'll try that. But then hopefully someone will get the light bulb going and realize that what you're teaching them needs to be implemented, and everybody involved has to step up, has to be part of the solution. And I think that also it builds camaraderie, it builds, connectedness, so that they will thrive. And you see, you see, like you're saying, a lot of the medium-sized and smaller companies are listening, and they want to find better ways. So that's promising. Yes.
Yeah, so what I love is those that are really most interested, they will actually decide on having me come in as maybe a keynote and then a few webinars, and then it's an ongoing process for maybe a whole year, where I would work with the teams like twice or 4 times a month. And in those cases, after a year, obviously they're going to be in their sweet spot, and things will just be fantastic.
Beautiful. Yes. Well, we only have 2 minutes. Tell us about, you want to start up your radio show again. What is the focus, and what do you envision in this show that you're going to create?
So I have 8 episodes that's already what we would call in the can that I've already done.
Yes.
My show's name is going to be Impact and Win, because everybody, I believe, had some or other person that had an impact on their life, right? And if we now use that and we impact somebody else, it is a win-win. So
Yes.
it's all about what is the impact that we can make, and then how can we all win. And I am all about having a ripple effect in this world. And as you know, I have clients in 28 countries. I love to travel. I love different cultures. So if we can all just impact one person, the ripple effect will be magical, and this world will become so much better for it.
Perfect. That's perfect. So thank you for sharing that with
on
us.
My show, by the way. I will love to interview you too. So let's set that up at some point.
Yes, definitely. Well, we're going to connect. I will follow up with you most likely tomorrow. And everyone listening will have Rene back with more of her wisdom that is everyone can apply it, even in your everyday life. So thank you. It's been an honor. It's been a joy to spend this time with you, Rene. And thank you for all you are and all you've done.
Please look me up on LinkedIn. It's Rene Kamstra. I have a blue suit on. I will not take that off. The same on my Facebook. So, you can connect with me. I have white, gray hair. I'm definitely in my 60s. You can't miss me. I'd love for you to connect with me.
Beautiful. So everyone share that. Share that with your friends, your family, everyone. Connect. Listen to the show again and take in all the goodness that she is sharing. And until we meet again, everyone, connect with your inner person. Feed into love consciousness, and let's change the world. Au revoir.
Are you seeking a clearer path to love? Then tune in to the Love by Intuition show next week, all designed to your highest good. To contact Deborah Beauvais, owner of Empowered Connections, call her at 508-226-1723. That's 508-226-1723. Or link on to lovebyintuition.com. Remember, we are all one, and we are all part of the miracle of love.
This is Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, uniting mankind with universal love. Our shows are created from the heart, bringing each listener to a place of divine enlightenment. Breathe, relax, and enjoy. Let life flow.